Granit Xhaka has everything. He's famous, has a lot of money that can raise his family's dignity. He has a partner as beautiful as Leonita. He has cute, adorable children. However, the life that many people say is delicious and ideal apparently does not make him comfortable. By doing life as a footballer, Granit Xhaka must face severe and persistent tests. At one point, he even felt that his previous life, the life before becoming a famous footballer, was much better than his current life. In 1986, in Yugoslavia, a young man of about 21 met a woman he was deeply in love with. He decided to get engaged to her. However, this young man was soon imprisoned. The reason for this was that he was demonstrating in defense of Kosovo's independence. He was detained while his fiancée did not know when he was released from prison. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. She waited for him like he was waiting for the moon. 6 months later, he was released. The two finally got married and left their country to go to Switzerland. Yes, the lovers in this story are Granit Xhaka's parents. The young man is Xhaka's father, Granit Xhaka. He is a Kosovar who has always opposed the communist rule of Yugoslavia. While the lover is Granit Xhaka's mother, her name is Elmaze Xhaka.
Yeah, my parents, they came from Kosovo before the war. To Switzerland without nothing, without minus of the money, for example. They was sleeping in one house, in a friend's house, for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Xhaka's parents chose to go to Switzerland to start a new life. In 1990, both migrated to Switzerland. A year later, Xhaka's older brother Taulant was born in Basel. 18 months later, the footballer known as Granit Xhaka was born. Granit Xhaka was born on 27 September 1992. Although born in Switzerland, one day Xhaka will not forget Albania and Kosovo, his father and mother's lineage. Granit Xhaka started his childhood in the Swiss city of Basel. It's about an hour's drive from Zurich, the capital of Switzerland. Did you know? The city of Basel has a famous football club called FC Basel. This club was once inhabited by great players. Two of them are Mohamed Salah and Jan Sommer. Granit Xhaka's brother, Taulant Xhaka, also still plays for the club. Xhaka's brother Taulant has had a great talent for playing football since childhood. In contrast to Granit Xhaka, who has always been shrouded in inferiority in his chest, he is not a footballer who is full of confidence as he is now. On the contrary, Xhaka felt inappropriate to touch football. When he was 14 years old, Xhaka looked in the mirror, looking at himself. He felt his body was too thin and small. The coaches of the football teams did not take into account his existence. And it was true. At almost the same age, Taulant's career took off even faster. Both Granit Xhaka and Taulant Xhaka entered the academy at almost the same age. Xhaka was 5 years old, while his brother was 6. Both explored their interest and love for football at the same time. The Xhaka brothers' parents put their children into Basel's Concordia Academy. Incidentally, this club is called a player factory. Concordia Basel often channels its talents to FC Basel. Both of them pursued their careers together at this club. The two children of former political prisoners trained tirelessly. Both were quickly sent to FC Basel's youth team. However, Taulant had a smoother path. Meanwhile, Granit, the younger brother, had to face a heartbreaking fact. Apart from being ridiculed for his short and thin posture, Xhaka has had to grapple with injuries. When he was 15 years old, Xhaka found his anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, ruptured. Even though Xhaka saw a glimmer of opportunity to strengthen the FC Basel first team, the ACL injury temporarily buried his dream of playing in front of supporters who packed the St. Jakob Park Stadium FC Basel's headquarters. 8 months of Xhaka not playing football. After the injury healed, he returned to the pitch. But there was something niggling in his heart. He was afraid, worried, anxious in case the injury recurred. His fear was visible on the pitch. Xhaka was hesitant to play the ball. He didn't even dare to make a tackle anymore. Not only that, Xhaka has also prepared himself for an internship at an office, living a normal life, not as a footballer. Recovering from injury, his performance with the FC Basel youth team was embarrassing. So disgraceful, in fact, that a chorus of insults has sprung up. Shame on you! Why are you still playing? So say those who dislike Granit Xhaka. However, Xhaka didn't take off his boots, didn't take off his shirt, and didn't let the abuse and injury scars dampen his hopes. His chance is 50-50. To keep playing, to do it all, or to give up, he thought at the time. Xhaka chose to keep playing, to do everything he could do. This young man continues to forge himself. Not only physical training, Xhaka also kept pumping himself up mentally. He eventually went through a period of rehabilitation and rediscovered his fitness. After finding his fitness again, Xhaka suddenly felt more confident. Perhaps it was because his efforts had paid off. It's not for nothing that Xhaka ignored the neighbors' chatter and kept kicking the ball. After all, he wanted to get into the Swiss U17 national team so he could appear at the U17 World Cup. With a relatively short time from his recovery, Xhaka joined the Swiss U17 national team and traveled to Nigeria for the U17 World Cup. However, Xhaka was not actually called up by the Swiss U17 national team for the U17 World Cup. That can be understood because Xhaka has not long recovered from injury. Although he has found his fitness again, taking Xhaka to Nigeria is not entirely a wise decision. However, Xhaka was lucky. One of his colleagues, who is also a midfielder, was injured and had to miss out. Xhaka also replaced him. Perhaps this is called being happy on top of other people's suffering. In the absence of one of the players, Xhaka finally got on the plane, joining the Swiss U17 national team to fly to the African continent in 2009. Switzerland put on an incredible show at the Under-17 World Cup. Their play on the pitch far exceeded expectations. Xhaka brought the midfield to life. Switzerland kept winning, in the group stages, in the knockout stages, and even in the final against hosts Nigeria. The U17 World Cup title was within reach. Xhaka returns to Basel's youth team as the U17 World Cup champion. Although he is still at the U17 level, he is happy to be back playing with his older brother in Basel's youth team. Oh yes, Taulant Xhaka was not involved in the Swiss squad that won the U17 World Cup. Ragip Xhaka's first son chose the Albanian national team. Now, ahead of the 2010-11 Swiss Premier League season, Taulant and Granit Xhaka were promoted to the senior team. This was a source of great pride for their parents. How could they not? Both sons played for FC Basel J. After winning the U17 World Cup, Granit Xhaka had more appeal than Taulant. Evidently, rather than his older brother, it was Xhaka who first debuted in the FC Basel senior team. Unmitigated, his first debut was in the first leg of the Champions League qualifying round. At that time, FC Basel traveled to the headquarters of the Hungarian team, Debrecen. Amazingly, Xhaka even scored the second goal in a 2-0 win over Debrecen. Well, Taulant himself had to wait until September to make his debut in the FC Basel senior team when playing in the League Cup against FC Mendrisio Stabio. Gradually, both of them matured as FC Basel players. Neither Granit nor Taulant ever looked back. They kept moving forward. Taulant and Xhaka eventually became the cornerstone of FC Basel. Both led the team to win the Swiss League for 2 consecutive seasons in 2011 and 2012. In January 2012, Taulant was loaned out to Basel's rivals, Grasshoppers club Zurich. The aim was to increase experience. However, after 18 months, Taulant finally returned to Basel. Meanwhile, Granit Xhaka continued to play at FC Basel. His game is solid, consistent, and elegant. That's what earned him a call-up to the Swiss national team. In the senior Swiss national team, he reunited with his old comrades-in-arms in Nigeria, Haris Seferovic and Ricardo Rodriguez. Winning titles with FC Basel and joining the Swiss national team, it was hard for him to avoid the attention of scouts from European clubs. In 2012, Lucien Favre wanted new players at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and one of the potential signings was Granit Xhaka. He was young, talented, had titles to his name, and most importantly, he wouldn't make Gladbach poor overnight. In May 2012, Borussia Mönchengladbach finally signed Granit Xhaka. Sure enough, it only took 8.5 million euros to bring him to Germany. Xhaka is on a 5-year contract. However, before packing his suitcase and going to Germany, Xhaka had to argue with his father first. His father authorized Xhaka to go to Germany. They say that if your parents approve of your every move, everything will be easy, and vice versa. However, Xhaka proved that assumption is not always true, because the blessing of parents is one thing, while God's decree is another. Xhaka has his parents' blessing to go to Germany, but he still encountered a steep road. The first 6 months in Germany, Xhaka was hit by harsh reality. 10 matches, he only sat on the bench. Xhaka had complained about his condition to his father. Yep, from childhood, Xhaka has always positioned his father as a support system. "I came to play, Dad," Xhaka complained to his father when he was never given playing minutes. However, what did his father say? To be stronger, one must work harder than others. The message sunk into Xhaka's brain and heart. He is a lucky footballer. His father, apart from being a political prisoner, was actually a former football coach. Therefore, when he came home on holiday, Xhaka continued to train under his father's supervision. When he returned home and discussed again with his father, Xhaka reflected on the story when his father was imprisoned in Yugoslavia. At that point, Xhaka realized sitting on the bench was no more difficult and scary than being trapped in a Yugoslavian prison. Long story short, Granit Xhaka's hard work has paid off. His game is maturing. Very few footballers can combine all the roles of a midfielder, from aggressiveness, positional awareness, anticipation, and setting the tempo. However, Xhaka is definitely one of them. Xhaka is more complete with his leadership spirit that has been nurtured since childhood. There's an anecdote in Xhaka's family about this, that he is more trusted to hold the house keys than Taulant. In addition, Xhaka was also forged through stories of parents' journeys full of dangers. That's where the figure of Xhaka, who was originally afraid to take risks, turned into a person who did not hesitate to rush into danger. Xhaka's progress coincided with Gladbach's progress. You could say that the Swiss player influenced the team's performance. During his 3 seasons at Gladbach, Xhaka led the team to finish 8th, 6th, and 3rd. That counts from the 2012 to 13 to 2014 to 15 season. However, in the 2015 to 16 season, Gladbach started the season in a bad way. They lost their first 5 matches in the Bundesliga. At that time, Lucien Favre, the person who brought Xhaka to Germany, chose to resign. Of course, Favre's resignation was bad news for Xhaka, because that means he must get acquainted with a new coach who will not necessarily give him another chance. But in life, as with wishes, not everything we fear will happen. The change from Favre to André Schubert actually expanded Xhaka's opportunities. At the time, Captain Tony Jonski was injured. Unexpectedly, Schubert, the new coach of Die Fohlen, handed the captain's armband to Granit Xhaka, who was not even 23 years old at the time. Given the responsibility of captaincy, Xhaka's leadership skills that have been molded from a life of hardship are maturing. However, the mango tree does not always produce fresh fruit, but also rotten fruit. Granit Xhaka is no different. Despite his ability to integrate all the skills of a midfield player and his powerful leadership skills, Xhaka is a temperamental person. He often displays a harsh attitude that tends to be a form of undisciplined behavior. In fact, his temperament and stubbornness could not be tempered at all when the captain's armband was pinned on his arm. And that became one of Xhaka's weaknesses when playing in the Bundesliga. Xhaka, who used to be reluctant to tackle, when playing in Germany, he actually became the player who committed the most offenses. 4 seasons in Borussia Mönchengladbach's uniform, he has collected 39 yellow cards and 6 red cards. A tough and unforgiving attitude when viewed in a positive light will complement Xhaka's abilities, especially in carrying out his duties as a midfielder and team captain. At Gladbach, Xhaka's role really stands out. He is responsible for the flow of the ball. When he has the ball, he flows it. When not in possession of the ball, Xhaka can get close to his friend, who has the ball. He can also move into other spaces, ready to receive a pass or signal to his partner to quickly send a pass to avoid pressing opponents. Apart from carrying out the responsibility of ball flow, Xhaka is also often burdened with other tasks, executing set pieces. This matter, Xhaka is no less good. In the Swiss player's legs is stored the power to release hard kicks. No doubt spectacular goals are born through the hard boom of his kicks. People nicknamed him Shake-a-Boom. The 2015-16 season saw Xhaka help Gladbach climb to the top half of the Bundesliga. At the end of the season, Die Fohlen finished in 4th place. They also won a Champions League playoff ticket, and this was Xhaka's last offering to the German team. He could not avoid farewell. In 2016, Arsene Wenger, who at that time was still coaching Arsenal, smelled Xhaka's talent. Quoted by Sky Sports, Wenger is interested in the 23-year-old, especially because of his experience in the Champions League and Bundesliga. It turns out that Wenger has also sent a cipher to monitor Xhaka. We have observed him, Granit Xhaka. He will be a player who will add quality to our squad. We look forward to welcoming him to Arsenal, Wenger was quoted as saying by Sky Sports. The Gunners also successfully signed Xhaka with a tag of €45 million before the 2016-17 season rolled around. Xhaka, of course, welcomed Arsenal's willingness to recruit him, because honestly, Xhaka himself also admires Arsenal's game.
I think it's not the same. In Germany, you can play aggressive, but referee always say in English,
whistle.
Yeah, and I think in England no, so it's better for me.
Coming to Arsenal was like finding a treasure trove of hope. Xhaka no longer sees a glimmer of hope, but that hope has been completely grasped. However, coming to a big club is not always happy. Something mentally testing came his way again when Xhaka appeared in front of Gunners. Xhaka's story at Arsenal has not always been smooth. His relationship with supporters ebbs and flows. Wenger, the coach who brought Xhaka to the Emirates, only briefly trained him. Because he finally decided to retire, Arsenal was then trained by Unai Emery. In Emery's hands, various kinds of bad things must be experienced by Granit Xhaka. Apart from bringing skills to Arsenal, Xhaka also still carries his bad habits. At Arsenal, Xhaka still has a loud and temperamental character. He did not hesitate to attack opponents, making tackles that were sometimes dangerous, not only for the opponent, but for his own team. Once upon a time in the 2018-19 season, Arsenal were trying to qualify for the Champions League. In the decisive match against Brighton and Hove Albion, the Gunners actually almost locked in a 1-0 victory. If you win, Arsenal qualify for the Champions League. Disaster occurred before the game broke up. Xhaka fouled a Brighton player. If it happens in the middle of the field, let alone in the tunnel, no problem. Well, it happened in the penalty box. As a result, Arsenal conceded, failed to win, and were forced to bury hopes of the Champions League. Since then, Xhaka has become a public enemy at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal fans have lost respect for him. Xhaka is always used as a scapegoat in every failure of the Gunners. Sadly, this continued into the following seasons. Xhaka is often shouted "boo" by Gunners. Because his mentality has been formed, Xhaka doesn't care about it at all, although it also has an impact on the coach. Emery was repeatedly criticized for not removing the captain's armband from Xhaka's arm. Xhaka also received death threats, but he stood firm. However, his defense and patience faltered when ridicule was not only showered on him, but also his family. Because of their hatred for Xhaka, some fans went so far as to pray for Xhaka's children to get cancer. No matter how much you hate someone, it's still not okay to wish them harm.
You can criticize me. You can say about me whatever you want. I have no doubts about it. But don't touch my family. Because there is a limit. Because my little ones, or my friends, or my wife, or my brother, or my parents have nothing to do with me.
He was frustrated and angry. At its peak, Xhaka even took off and slammed the Arsenal jersey after his team failed to win over Crystal Palace 2019 ago. Exactly when he was replaced, and he heard boos from the stands of Arsenal fans. In December 2019, Xhaka packed up his things. He had enough at Arsenal. It's not that he doesn't love this club, but it's time to go. Xhaka felt that what he felt from fans was no longer love, but hatred. He spoke to Leonita and agreed to leave London. Xhaka also called Mikel Arteta, who was then newly appointed coach. At first, he just wanted to say goodbye, because no matter what the circumstances, it is difficult to change the decision. However, Arteta held him back. He said Xhaka was included in his project. Arteta honestly explained his plans to Xhaka. With full confidence, Xhaka also trusted Arteta. His decision was changed. Xhaka chose to stay, a choice that even surprised his family. Football is always unpredictable, not only on the pitch but also behind-the-scenes decisions. Arteta repaid Xhaka's trust. Xhaka really became the backbone of the Gunners. When this team is not good, it is no longer Xhaka who is the target of fire, but Arteta. Because Arteta dared to put his body for his players. And that makes all players, including Xhaka, comfortable. People, when they are comfortable, do anything delicious. So did Xhaka. However, his temperament is still there. Xhaka is still diligently collecting cards. During Arteta's training, he got 33 yellow cards and 3 red cards. However, Arteta did not really question his emotional nature. Can't emotional attitudes be useful if directed towards positive things? Don't forget, Arsenal also had a tough-tempered midfielder like Patrick Vieira. Xhaka became the actor behind Arsenal's title streak during Arteta's tenure. The Community Shield and FA Cup are 2 of them. Unexpectedly, Arteta could use a player who was previously full of controversy, one of which was his celebration at the 2018 World Cup, to become a valuable player. In a moment, Arteta even changed the view of Arsenal fans on Xhaka, from initially looking at him cynically and full of hatred to irresistible love. However, while being affectionate, Granit Xhaka chose to leave Arsenal. Around the end of 2023, Xhaka wants Arsenal's commitment, but the Gunners are not ready to extend his one-year contract. On the other hand, Bayer Leverkusen, coached by Xabi Alonso, is interested in signing him. When talking to Alonso, Xhaka also felt suitable. Xhaka believes that at Leverkusen, the challenge will not be as tough as at Arsenal. After 7 years, Granit Xhaka parted ways with Arsenal. Die Workself brought him in with a tag of 15 million euros.